Hey friends, so, sometimes when you go through the ending of a situation where you were emotionally invested, whether it be a friendship or relationship or whatever, you will find yourself looking inward a little bit and taking on some of the blame for its demise, even when it wasn't really your fault. I don't know why we tend to do this, to be honest, because Lord knows I have certainly done it plenty of times myself. I guess the best way that I can explain it is to repeat something I've said for years and years. When your emotions are on, your brain is off. There's really not too much that can be done to change this very basic human behavior. It just is what it is. However, so often we will spend a huge amount of time sitting with that blame that we have imposed upon ourselves, ruminating over it, sometimes agonizing even, wondering, what did I do? Sometimes, my friends, the answer is nothing. You weren't the problem. Plain and simple. Or at least plain and simple to say. Changing your mind to start believing this is entirely another matter. And that's what this video is for. We are going to talk about this very thing because, honestly, we all have enough of our own problems that we're trying to work out and take responsibility for already. Other people's stuff? Well, to quote one of my favorite internet sensations of all time, ain't nobody got time for that. So, when something goes wrong, trying to find something or someone to blame is, as we said, kind of human nature. This is because our brains like to solve things, whether it be a puzzle or a mystery or whatever else. And of course, when we are searching for that answer, it is always easiest to point to the one that seems the most probable or most convenient or just the one that's closest. Way too many of us, though, will find that solution by doing this instead of doing this. Sometimes that's because doing this is going to require a whole lot of other things we now need to think about and question, like our better judgment or our inability to see red flags in situations soon enough. Maybe we didn't try enough in this area or in that area. Maybe we wanted too much. Maybe we expected too much. Maybe we were just too much, period. All of this beating ourselves up, though, doesn't change the situation, not one bit. Generally, what it does end up doing is eroding our self-esteem or increasing our insecurities or making us have trust issues with others and even with ourselves, too. We start to think we can't trust ourselves. Needless to say, this is all super damaging to our mental health as a whole. So, are we gonna just blame ourselves forever? Nah. Usually after some time passes, we get over it, so to speak, and stop dwelling and stop that ritual of self-blame. But the damage is still done, though, and it can manifest itself later in a multitude of ways. It can take so much time to get back our self-confidence and trust in our own abilities. It takes a lot of work, too. Hard work. One of the easiest ways to prevent all of this is to pay more attention to people's patterns. I say all the time, words are really not to be trusted. Actions always speak louder than they do, but sometimes those can be faked or have ulterior motives behind them. But patterns? Never doubt those. People's patterns tell you way more about who someone truly is than words and actions combined ever could. Patterns are recurring inclinations or behaviors that people exhibit over time. There is probably no better way for you to learn more about someone's genuine intentions or motives or character than by keeping an eye out for certain patterns, because patterns show that person's conduct throughout time rather than just a few isolated instances. Therefore, they're usually a much better representative of a person's true character. So, in other words, people repeat who they are, period. So, someone who has a pattern of being a solid friend and confidant is probably going to stay that way. Someone who is respectful and kind and patient will likely be that way consistently and with everyone, unless someone gives them a reason not to be. Someone who has a pattern of being loyal and honest, same. That's who they are. And if that's who you're surrounded with, then awesome. Good people, friends, I mean truly good people, are hard to find these days. So hold on to them when you've got them. There is a flip side to this, and it's an unfortunate one. People tend to repeat their negative or unhealthy patterns too. So someone who is an a-hole to everyone else but you is going to come around the corner and show you that side of them too. It's a pattern, and it's just a matter of time. Someone who is manipulative or controlling by nature will do that in any relationship with anyone where they feel they can get away with it. Someone who is burned through friend groups constantly is not going to stop at yours. Someone who burns through relationships, same. Will that ever change? Can patterns be broken? Of course they can. Someone can always change their behavior for the better, etc., and so forth. I mean, they aren't going to change it for you. You are probably not going to be the exception. But they can change it if they want to. And truthfully, it usually takes someone getting utterly tired of their own nonsense for them to truly break an unhealthy pattern. It's going to take inner work, which nobody can do for them but them. Some people will get there, some won't. Regardless, it's on them. So, stop blaming yourself for things going belly up with someone when their patterns were trying to tell you that it was inevitable. You just didn't want to see it. Stop getting into situations with people whose track record should be printed right on a big old red flag in a big old bold font because you think it'll be different for me, they will change for me, because no, they won't. I think nobody has ever said this better than a friend of mine who went through a divorce years ago and came out on the other side better than anyone thought, including her. When told that her ex-husband was immediately dating someone else, the woman that he had repeatedly told her not to worry about, no less, she very calmly said, "Well, you know what they say, one woman's trash is another woman's trash also, because he ain't going to change, sis." Spoiler alert, he didn't. That relationship didn't work out either, and it didn't even take long. Shocking, I know. Anyway, stop thinking that if you had only just made more effort or whatever you're telling yourself in situations that don't work out, because the truth is that effort needs to come from more than one party in any situation for it to truly work. That goes for friendships, partnerships, any ships you get involved in. You cannot captain that ship alone. So, when that ship is about to sink because you're the only one rowing, your choices are jump or drown. And I really do not recommend the latter. Stop thinking that there's something wrong with you because you were rejected or excluded, because it's almost always definitely not about you, and it's actually about the other person or party's preference. For example, I really dislike onions. And no, it's not because I haven't met the right onion. I've tried them in many incarnations and still hate them. The only way I will tolerate them is if they are in like powdered form and mixed into something and I don't know about it, or fried and deeply disguised as something else. And even then it's iffy. That's not a reflection on onions. They're considered by many to be essentials to cook with. They are beloved by many people who enjoy their flavor. I just happen to not be one of them, and that's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the onions. They just aren't my thing. I'm pretty sure that onions aren't sitting out here crying, no pun intended, about the fact that I will reject them from every dish on a menu when they are presented to me. They aren't locking themselves in their bedroom sulking because I walk right past them at the grocery store and never buy one. They aren't posting on Onion Book that there is something wrong with them and it's all their fault for being so oniony. I often say that people are a lot like onions sometimes, and they have many, many layers to peel back. With that said, if you look at yourself the same way after a rejection, then I think it can help you understand that no matter how many wonderful layers you have, sometimes you're just not for everyone. But There are some people who will like you, some will love you, some will dislike you, some will hate you. Your worth, however, remains unchanged through it all. You are always worthy, regardless of what other people's opinions are. They don't set that price of your worth, ever. You do. Period. I think you get the point I'm trying to make here, friends. Sometimes it really wasn't your fault that something fell apart or didn't work out. Sometimes you did do everything right or to the best of your ability. Sometimes you gave all you could and you tried your hardest. Sometimes you let things slide or accepted less than you deserved because you really did want things to work. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just weren't the problem. The problem was the other party. And when that's the case, and you will know in your heart of hearts when it is, then release that blame from yourself because it's not yours. Set it down, walk away, don't look back. Do whatever you need to do to be done, friends, but be done. If you've watched some of our other videos, you know I always encourage people to own their actions and be accountable for the things they say and do, and you should definitely do that. But I also encourage people to be self-aware too. And part of having a healthy sense of self-awareness is knowing when you are part of the problem and knowing when you aren't. Learn how to see that more clearly. And I promise you that you will not only feel better because you're conserving your mental energy, but your self-esteem and your confidence will thank you too. That's all I've got for you this week. I'll be back next week with another priority message. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Bye.